Carl Sabo is Vice President and General Counsel for NetChoice, Professor of Internet Law at George Mason University's Antonin Scalia Law School. Carl, welcome back to the program.
Yeah, glad to be back.
I'm glad you're here because this was a really cool headline. Artificial intelligence experts share 6 of the biggest AI innovations of 2023, calling it a landmark year. Tell us more.
Yeah, so 2023, we heard a lot of talk about artificial intelligence. You heard every CEO, every major lawmaker across the country and across the world talking about AI. Well, 2024 is when it becomes real. It's when it stops being this pie in the sky discussion of is it the Terminator or is it racist? And we actually get down to brass tacks and start to see what AI can do and what it will do. And look, I'm super excited for AI. I think this is one of those revolutionary technologies. And here's just one way that it could really be a game changer, not just for our daily lives, but for the entire world. So let's look at 3 different issues: cancer, renewable energy, and stopping poverty and hunger across the world. Okay, those are really high, pie in the sky, moonshot type statements. Cancer, we have spent billions of dollars and thrown the smartest minds at curing cancer, at discovering what is called nuclear fusion, which is essentially cheap, renewable, clean energy. We spent billions of dollars, best minds, and we can't crack it. Well, breakthroughs are a game of probabilities. You test it, it doesn't work, you retest something new. Artificial intelligence can test, make adjustments, and retest in fractions of seconds. And they can do this time and time and time again. And so some of the articles that we saw today in the Wall Street Journal and in other publications talk about how artificial intelligence can do the testing on medicine to truly optimize that type of breakthrough revelation to deal with Alzheimer's. Well, imagine if it could do that for cancer. Imagine if it could do that for nuclear fusion. Imagine if it could do that for crop yields. And if you think about that, you begin to realize that if it could do just one of those, we are talking about a massive change and improvement for life. And that's at the macro scale. And it's a couple of years out, but it's coming faster than ever, and it's because of artificial intelligence. And that's the type of thing that we're talking about here. And what kind of scares me is these amazing breakthroughs, the ones that are right at the cusp, that America is leading the way on, might not come to pass if, well, unfortunately, government gets in the way. Because one of the things government's really good about doing is putting up roadblocks. And so we've seen efforts like the Biden executive order, Senator Chuck Schumer's Safe Innovation Framework, or the European Union trying to put up roadblocks, trying to call for a pause, trying to say, stop innovation, don't do anything risky, don't do anything unless we tell you you can do it. What does that mean? That means that these amazing, world-changing, life-changing technologies, innovations, and breakthroughs from artificial intelligence, the ones that I just kind of talked about, whether it's medicine, whether it is clean renewable energy, whether it is figuring out better ways to increase crop yields and feed the world, they may never come to pass if government gets in the way and kneecaps and denies us that ability. So I'm super excited. We're going to start to see artificial intelligence become integrated. Right now out at CES, Microsoft is literally integrating artificial intelligence into their keyboards. So you can hit a button and bring up the artificial intelligence there. A lot of us have been using artificial intelligence in similar ways through things like Siri and Google and Alexa. And this is the amazing feature, this amazing technology of just making our lives a little bit easier. And at the big scale, really a game changer for the world.
I think that's a good jumping off point. But I have to play devil's advocate always. And one of the things that I did see a story about the military doing some testing with artificial intelligence, and the artificial intelligence was basically killing off, in the scenario, it was killing off the human drone operators because the human drone operators had a parameter that was set that said, you can only go this far. And basically, it was to preserve human life. And so the AI was like, well, in order for me to accomplish my goal, I need to, speed up. I want to go faster. And so the only way that I can do that is to disregard the human parameter that's set by the human. And the only way to do that is to kill the human. So in every instance, the AI was deciding to kill the human being. What about the people who are concerned about those scenarios?
Yeah, and this is why I love your show, because you do play devil's advocate, but you also bring up important points, and this is a really important one. So when it comes to the innovation and integration of artificial intelligence into our military, we've been doing that for years. You can look at something like Israel's Iron Dome, which is the ability of Israel to shoot down incoming missiles from Hamas in fractions of seconds. And the only way to do that, the only way to make those calculations, the only way to hit that target miles away is with artificial intelligence. It has to be able to do nanosecond calculations and launch the intercept. We have similar defensive technologies on American battle cruisers and American warships, where they're able to shoot down incoming rockets. For example, the type of activity that we're seeing outside of Yemen right now by the Houthis, we're able to shoot down those incoming projectiles, and that's in part by artificial intelligence. But as you point out, the Pentagon did run a simulation. It was completely like on a computer, so it did not actually happen in reality, thankfully, and the computer made errors. But what we are going to see is not a matter of if, but when AI is further integrated into the battlefield. And what that means is we are going to see humans and military personnel not necessarily in the loop, but on the loop. And what I mean by that is rather than trying to navigate we'll just use the example of drones, rather than try to navigate a drone halfway around the world where fractions of seconds matter. Instead, the military will give the rules of engagement. They will establish what the drone can and cannot do, where it can and cannot fly, the things it can and cannot look for, and then allow it to operate within those rules of engagement. And that's not too dissimilar from how the military works today, right? The general gives a command down to the troops and provides the rules of engagement, and then the troops are able to make the on-the-ground, on-the-field decisions within those parameters. Similar things with respect to the artificial intelligence. I was talking to my brother-in-law. He did a tour in Afghanistan a couple years ago, and he was just talking about how back in the day they would fly drones around to patrol the borders of caravans when they were resting overnight. And all it could really do is report movement. Every time movement gets reported, somebody has to go and investigate it. And he was lamenting that we didn't have the artificial intelligence then that we do today, where instead of just reporting movement, it could report this movement is a threat, and it can assess the level of threat. Is it just, a dog out on the field of battle, or is it an armed combatant? And that's where artificial intelligence can begin helping our troops today and will be helping our troops today as we continue to fight new types of battles. At the same time, our foreign adversaries are developing artificial intelligence for their own uses. So let's not pretend that America stands alone in the military innovation or technological innovation anymore. We face fierce competition from foreign nations like China, who are developing their own artificial intelligence and their own military capabilities. And what that means is if we want to go toe-to-toe, if we want to continue to be the world leader in military, then we need to have the tools and the technology. And that can only happen if innovation is allowed to occur in the United States. One of the things that separates the United States from the rest of the world, it's one of the things that I've thought a lot about, is what is America's secret sauce? And what makes America the greatest nation on the planet? It is the fact that we believe in freedom for individuals, freedom to innovate, freedom to dream. And what that means is if somebody wants to create an innovation with artificial intelligence, they can. And what we do in the United States, as opposed to what much of the rest of the Western world does, is we don't outlaw tools. We don't outlaw technology. We outlaw bad actions. It's kind of like saying, guns don't kill people, people kill people. Well, it's essentially the same thing, right? We outlaw bad actions, whether it's done with artificial intelligence or whether it's done with something else. And a simple example of that is Sam Bankman-Fried, the guy from the crypto baron from FTX, went to prison, not because of crypto trading, but because he committed fraud. And that's a simple example of how we don't write rules to address tools. We write rules and laws to outlaw bad actions. And the same thing applies to artificial intelligence. And this is one of the things and one of the myths that really needs to be dispelled. If there's one thing for your listeners to take away, it's this. Today, artificial intelligence is heavily regulated. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of laws today that apply to artificial intelligence. Whether if it's fraud committed by artificial intelligence, well, it's a violation of fraud. If it is deception, it is deception. We have laws to address deception. We don't say deception by AI. We don't say deception by photograph. We say deception. So we see a bunch of people in DC, and what I see every single day are a bunch of lawmakers running around saying, we need to create laws, we need to regulate artificial intelligence, but ignoring the reality that it is regulated heavily today. And what scares me is, oh, go ahead.
Well, no, I was just reacting to what you said. I love the fact that we don't think of it that way. We think, oh, we need a whole new group of laws for this one specific thing. Not really. Not really. we have laws that apply in every instance. It's always wrong to commit fraud. It's always wrong to embezzle. It's always wrong to, for the AI to decide it's going to kill a human to accomplish its goal. These are things that are already wrong.
That's exactly right. And so what we often see is we don't have a law problem. We have a law enforcement problem. And I'm sure, this should be no shocker to anybody who lives in any of our major cities these days. We don't have it's not that we don't have enough laws. We just don't have enough law enforcement. The same is true for artificial intelligence. And what I really get excited about is these amazing opportunities, these amazing innovations, these disruptive changes that can really improve the rest of imagine being able to cure cancer. That is a feasible and realistic possibility in the next decade, and that will be powered by artificial intelligence.
So let's talk about that.
That is the type of, yeah, go ahead.
Well, I want to talk about that's one of the breakthroughs that made 2023 such a banner year for AI, and that was the application of AI in reading cancer screenings. The AI is able to detect cancer in the cancer screenings at a much higher percentage than the human technician. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, and this is what computers are really good at. They're really good at looking and finding patterns. So imagine you have think about a radiologist. They will look at hundreds, if not thousands, of mammograms. And what they're trained to do is, well, if you see this dot, that may be a precancerous cell. Artificial intelligence can look at millions and tens of millions of mammograms and not just identify a potentially precancerous dot, but begin seeing patterns that doctors have not yet seen before. Oh, maybe it's not this dot. Maybe it's this wrinkle over here on the side that everyone ignored that is an indicator of breast cancer, even before you have the precancerous cells. And it can look at a photograph now and remember it as well as a photograph it looked at a year ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, because computers don't have the loss of memory that humans do. So as you point out, what we're starting to see is artificial intelligence literally just connect the dots. It's looking at millions of mammograms and mammograms that lead to breast cancer, mammograms that don't lead to breast cancer, and it can basically just look for differences. Well, this thing keeps popping up on mammograms that lead to breast cancer, and they don't pop up on mammograms that don't lead to breast cancer. Therefore, that might be an indicator of breast cancer. And you rightly identify. Artificial intelligence can do this, and it can do it better than a human will. And computers don't get tired. They don't get sleepy. They don't have a bad day at home and bring that to the office. And they can be on their game 24/7. Now, I'm not saying we get rid of radiologists either, but the artificial intelligence can be additive, much in the same way that every piece of technology that we've brought into a hospital to better detect heart arrhythmias or low blood pressure or errors in mental health, they've enhanced the doctor. Artificial intelligence will enhance the radiologist. And ultimately, we can get better at detecting health problems before they happen. One other example is we all remember the story of Theranos. That was this medical marvel that turned out to be a hill of beans. It was supposed to be you prick your finger and it will give you all of your medical and health information. Turned out to be snake oil salesman case. And the creator of Theranos and CEO went to prison for it. Artificial intelligence could actually do it because it can look at the slight deviations in every single part of our body and be able to better predict future health problems. And that is truly amazing. I will tell you, Stacy, as a guy who's heading into his later years of life, my wife is constantly looking at me and asking me about my hairline. And if I could have artificial intelligence be able to look at my hairline and figure out whether I do or do not need to worry about it, that would be amazing. And that's kind of a comical example of the real opportunities that we'll see from artificial intelligence to pre-detect things like high blood pressure, heart disease, the number 1 and 2 killers of Americans, better create drugs to stop Alzheimer's, as the article outlines. And so that's where we're headed. And it's 2024 where this technology comes into reality, gets brought into the hospital space, gets brought into the home, and gets brought into the office. One last example I'll give you. This actually came up from a conference I was at a couple weeks ago. Every time we go to the doctor's office, the doctor seems to spend more time typing on their computer than they do looking at us. And that's because they're sitting there basically hand transcribing their notes. Hospitals are now using artificial intelligence to not only transcribe the conversation between doctor and patient, but to then provide the doctor the key components out of that conversation, the key notes, so the doctor has them at their disposal. And that means doctors will spend more time talking to us, the patients, than they will be typing up their notes into the computer.
I hope that's true, but I also know about there's something called a scribe. And a scribe is either a medical technician or a medical student or someone who's planning on going to medical school, and they can also do the notes for the doctors. And I wish that they would go back to a more like a proliferation of having those scribes, because the scribes learn a lot from taking the notes for the doctors. And then after each of those visits, the scribes have to get a little bit of information from the doctor, which cements that information. I'm not against the AI being a part of it, but I would hate to see the human component of having human scribes working with the doctors, because it's something that medical school students, that when they're in their gap year or they're working over the summer, they need that experience because it helps put them closer to what they're going to be doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is where AI can be supplemental, but not replacement. And that's the type of invaluable experience that we can continue to give, and then use the artificial intelligence to supplement the situations where it's a solo practitioner and you don't necessarily have the scribes. I can tell you in my profession as a law professor and in the legal world, AI is ripe for disruption in the legal profession. We spend so much time and money doing document reviews for trial, pouring through thousands and thousands of pages of legal morass and evidence and all this stuff. Artificial intelligence can actually expedite that. And what that means for the first year attorneys who would typically be given these just brute force, non useful projects, we can actually have students coming out of law school start writing briefs rather than spending all their time doing document review. And that's another great opportunity of artificial intelligence. And what that also means is for every single client, it's going to be cheaper, faster, and better. So yes, less money for lawyers, which is bad for my law students, but that's going to be way better for society on the whole.
And these are all good examples of places that your average everyday person who is just hearing about this is not going to think of these very real world applications and how they could be so beneficial for Apple. And I'm sure there are even some other opportunities when you talk about reviewing test results, reviewing scans, and radiology. That kind of precision would be appreciated in a number of industries where they have to basically look at reports and compare data. The AI could assist with that. So it's not putting the AI in the driver's seat, but it's certainly offering the AI a opportunity to take over a precision task where human error could cost lives or definitely increase costs, money wise.
Yeah, I mean, think about this in our cars today. We have lane keep assist or adaptive cruise control or automatic braking. You still need a driver in the driver's seat for most every single car, but that artificial intelligence can certainly help you drive better, certainly keep you safer, and certainly make it easier as we're doing those long haul trips with the family.
Yep, I love it. And so I have to say, one of the best things about learning more about artificial intelligence is it's taking the mystique away from it. It's taking away the boogeyman effect. And it's also cementing, in my mind at least, that the most important thing for those who are not as gung-ho about AI to do is you should keep your eyes on it. You should participate in any discussions that are happening at the local level or in your company about the use of AI. So you would be the watchdog in this case to assist with proper implementation, to make sure that human beings are always involved where the AI is. And so it can make our lives a little easier, but just like any other good thing, you have to manage it, and we don't want to go to too little, and we certainly don't want too much. We have to find a sweet spot, and that's going to take vigilance. I love it that this is a kind of a good news thing on a Friday. It's every week is a rough news week, and so it's nice to have something to talk about that is something for us to look forward to in 2024.
2024 is going to be a whirlwind, but I think AI is going to be a true, shiny, wonderful opportunity for all of us.
I agree. And I think the diagnostic capabilities, if there's nothing else for you to get excited about, think about the fact that you could have your whatever kind of exam you're having, prostate exam, breast exam, whatever the test is that you're doing, that you could have a higher level of confidence that your film or your scan has been read properly, and that, if it says there's a diagnosis, there is one. If it says you're good and you're free and clear for a year, you're free and clear for a year. That would be a really great thing for us to have. It would be an upgrade, really.
Yeah, I mean, if it saves one life, right? My mom had breast cancer. We all know people with breast cancer. This could be the detection tool we need to save more lives, and it can be the breakthrough that finally cures cancer.
I love it. I'm ready for that to be an announcement. I'm ready for that to be a thing. Carl Sabo, VP and General Counsel for NetChoice. You also teach internet law at George Mason University's Antonin Scalia Law School. Fabulous to have you here tonight. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. All right, we'll be back with more. You're going to join us here on Friday night 866-957-2874, Friday. We'll be right back.